Hey out there, legal warriors. Can an officer arrest you for DUI even though you haven't been drinking and you consumed no alcohol? You might be interested to learn the answer to that question, and it may not be what you think. If you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington state for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get to see it. More people get the help they need. Now I'm just going to jump right into it. Justin Timberlake just got pulled over for DUI, and this is not a video about Justin Timberlake, but it made me think about it was said that maybe he didn't have that much alcohol to drink, and therefore, maybe he shouldn't have been arrested, and I don't know the answer to that. This is not a video about that case. But it did make me think about questions that I can often get. It's like, hey, can I be arrested for DUI, driving under the influence, even though I had no alcohol? Even though I had no alcohol in my breath, I didn't have one single drink, can I still be arrested for that? And believe it or not, I do get calls that involve a situation where someone has been arrested for DUI, even though they had nothing to drink. So the answer is yes, you can be arrested for driving under the influence, even with no alcohol. We have to think of a few things there, though. One is, can you be arrested? Number two, are you likely to be convicted? And number three, how could you still be convicted of DUI, even though you had no alcohol? Well, what gives someone the power to arrest? An officer has the power to arrest somebody if they have probable cause to believe that a crime was committed. And in a DUI case, probable cause just means whatever the officer thinks. From seeing tens of thousands of reports in my career, a real pet peeve that a defense attorney may have, even when I was a prosecutor, is that everything is indicative of being drunk in so many reports, even though the officer has never seen the driver before. The driver spoke very fast, must have been drunk. The driver spoke very slowly, must have been drunk. The driver was fumbling for documents, must have been drunk. The driver was slow to react to get documents, must have been drunk. Pretty much any reason can be written down to justify an arrest. And let's hope that you weren't foolish enough to do field sobriety tests, because those are totally subjective, hardly ever instructed correctly, hardly ever scored correctly, and again, must have been drunk. So the average officer can create a justifiable arrest based upon their observations, even if you haven't had any alcohol. And I might even suspect the officer may write that they smelled alcohol in someone's breath when there was no alcohol to smell. It's pretty bad, the state of the law, at least in Washington state, and probably throughout the nation. What else could happen after that arrest? Well, if they take a portable breath test from you and it shows no alcohol, now what they're going to do is they're going to bring in a DRE, a drug recognition expert, a drug recognition evaluator. They're going to bring in someone supposedly trained to do special testing to determine if you're under the influence of some other drug, because remember, must have been drunk. So they are going to check your eyes under different lights. They're going to check your pulse. They're going to take your temperature. They're going to do some different things, and they'll come up with a theory that you're under the influence of a depressant, or you're under the influence of a stimulant. I've seen cases where they talk about how much caffeine have you had, right? Caffeine's a drug, and if your ability to drive a motor vehicle is affected in any appreciable degree by any type of alcohol or drug, even legal drugs in Washington state, a very interested and aggressive officer can pursue a DUI charge for too much Starbucks, okay? And I've seen that case once. It's been a long time ago, but I have seen that case. And the system is a bunch of people, and how reasonable the system operates is based upon how reasonable the people are, the law enforcement, the prosecutors, etc. I'm surprised I have any hair left from fighting unreasonable situations like that. And yes, this is my real hair. Thank you, Dad. As far as what we normally, though, see isn't something as crazy as caffeine, we see people who are on just the regular prescribed medication, right? Hey, I'm prescribed this painkiller. I'm prescribed this muscle relaxer. I'm prescribed this sleeping aid. Therefore, I should legally be able to take that and drive. I can't be in trouble if I tell the officer about my prescribed medication. Oh, yes, you can. Prescribed medication is not a defense. As it might make sense, we don't want people who are on their prescribed medication and they can't drive because they're drowsy or their muscle relaxers kicked in or something like that. They can't safely drive. It's not a defense to say that our medication was prescribed. If they believe you're on some type of drug or medication, nowadays even they're going to ask for a blood draw. And if you refuse the blood draw, you're going to end up with a longer license suspension. And because marijuana is so common, there's now a lot more streamlined ways for the officer to get a warrant to search your blood. So it used to be 5-6 years ago, before we had a per se limit for marijuana amount in our bloodstream. If you refused a blood draw, 8 times out of 10, that's where the case would stop. Now, basically 9 to 10 times out of 10, that's not where the case stops. They've got this streamlined process to email a judge their one-sided version of their observations for the judge to authorize the taking of your blood against your will to have it tested by the state toxicologist, and they're going to look for anything that supports their theory must have been drunk. Okay? So there's lots of ways that we can get in trouble and charged with a DUI, arrested for DUI, even though we've consumed no alcohol. It's pretty bad. So what do we do? What do we do if we're in a situation we get pulled over and we've had no alcohol and the officer thinks we have? Because guess what? Everyone always tells the officer I haven't been drinking, right? That's what they do. Or I had a couple. So it's most important thing that we do is we don't do field sobriety tests, right? That lets them build a case with an unfair subjective test that we can't pass because we have a person with a position who thinks we're drunk, the officer scoring, testing, reporting the results. We don't have some neutral person doing this, right? So we don't do field sobriety tests. We do try to cooperate. We don't argue with officers and piss them off to now make them even more willing to try to build a case against us. If we're asked about questions about medication, we don't have to answer questions. We don't answer questions about medication. We don't have to answer any of those types of questions. We don't answer any questions of the officer if we can avoid it besides, hey, I haven't been drinking and I don't really have anything else to say. Because now they're not going to have a case. You don't have to go through an evaluation by a DRE. You don't have to let them put a thermometer in your mouth or look at your eyes and under different types of light to see if they dilate, right? That type of stuff. But we want to cooperate by being friendly, but we don't want to cooperate by making admissions to things they can use against us later. And you might think this is sort of a hysterical way of thinking about the world. It's not. I see so many cases. Had a case call within the last 10 days with a very similar story to this that did lead to an arrest with no drinking involved. And they know no drinking was involved after a test. So I want you to be careful. Never put yourself in the position to be in this type of situation, obviously. And, we want to cooperate, but we don't want to build evidence against us. And if you run into this situation, make sure you contact an attorney as soon as possible, because there can be steps that can be taken to help your case, and most importantly, knowledge of what's likely to happen and what you can and can't do and what you should and shouldn't do is going to make this period of time go smoother if you're having to deal with this. So that's what I have to say. Hopefully, Justin Timberlake turns out okay. Not a fan one way or the other, but we want everybody to get the help they need if that's the situation there. If you find this useful, please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you've got a criminal matter in Washington State, feel free to reach out to my firm. We've been doing this for more than 20 years. If we get on board, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.